Hello and welcome back to Graff Woodshop. My name is Josh Graff, and today we're going to be making a stitching pony. My buddy Robert has been getting into leatherworking lately and was wanting one of these, and his birthday's coming up, so that's what we're going to do today. This is a very simple build, pretty cheap, and honestly not a lot of tools are required. I'm going to put links down in the description below to everything I'm using today, but I am going to be using this 6-foot 1x4, which if you can't afford this, honestly you can go find a pallet behind a store, grab it with permission, and cut it up for what we are doing today. Also have a handful of hardware here today. Honestly, a lot of this, there's a good chance you've already got some of it in your garage or just laying around, but I will be leaving a link to all this stuff down in the description in case you want to go check it out and see exactly what it is that I am using today. Okay, so without further ado, let's get after it. Let's go.
So the first thing I do is I cut the two vertical arms for the stitching pony. I make them about 15 inches each. It doesn't really matter how long they are, as long as they're both the same length. I have set the stop block on my miter saw to get them that same length. After this, I cut a 3-inch long spacer piece, which we'll need later, and then the base, which I cut to about 20 inches. After this, I went ahead and gave them a quick sanding, started at 80 grit, and then went up to 120 on this project today. I also glued on this little piece of walnut I had laying around for the jaws. You can really use whatever you've got, but I just thought the walnut looked nice. And I also glued the spacer block to the bottom of one of my upper arms that we've got here. But you don't have to use the walnut, you can use what you got. After that, I went ahead and cut each of the jaws at a 45-degree angle over on the miter saw. You can do this with the hand saw as well, or honestly whatever you got. No big deal here today. After that, I did a little bit of sanding just to get everything nice and even with those pieces that we just added on. And doing a little bit of more sanding to clean up a little bit of glue squeeze out that we had. To actually attach one of the upper arms to the base, so I've added just a little bit of glue to the end of it. This is ingrained, so that glue isn't going to do a great job of connecting it. So I am going to drill some pilot holes for the screws that I've got. I just used some 3.5-inch screws that I had around. And I'm also going to use this countersink bit in there. That way the head of them are not sticking out and scratching up whatever this thing is on. So putting those screws in there just to hold this thing in place really good. I got a couple of screws in the actual arm and another screw in the spacer block itself. The other upper arm is going to be attached to the base with a hinge. That way it can open and close as we need to insert leather into it. For some reason my camera recording on the part where I attached the hinge, but just drill some pilot holes, put the screws in there, and you'll be good to go. After I got it all done, I did do a little bit of sanding to the top just to make sure everything was nice and neat and flush and lined up, and just to make the whole project look a little bit nicer. When you're drilling the hole here for the bolt that is going to be used to actually clamp the leather in place, just take your time, make sure that you're going in there at a good angle and try to get everything straight. But I did put this bolt all the way through here. I put a washer on one end, and the other end I have this nice little knob to hold it in place. I also added a little bit of felt onto the jaws here just to kind of help hold the leather in place and give it a nice surface to really grip it good with. You can pick up this felt at any big box store, but I do have links down in my description to all the stuff just in case you're wondering what exactly I am using here today.
Alright, so I just got this thing finished up and I'm very happy with the way the stitching pony turned out. Nice and basic. We have a little bit more cleanup, a little bit more sanding to do on this just to finish it up and be all done. But I'm happy with the way it turned out. You can either clamp this thing to a table when you're working on it or just sit on it. It should hold your leather in place really good. I like this knob I got put on here. You could just get a wing nut and use instead, but I think it's a nice little touch. I did add this little bit of felt up here just to kind of help grab the leather a little bit in there, but I'm happy with the way it turned out. If you guys got any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. Also in the description, I will go ahead and provide links to everything that I've used here today, whether that be tools or materials or whatever you might need. If you guys want to see more projects like this in the future, be sure and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Goodbye.